Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 56th ever episode of the Best Phone Plans Podcast. Hopefully you can hear some applause right now. I know, pretty exciting. I got a new soundboard. I'm here with Dennis. As always, we're talking super exciting news related to CBand 3G shutting down. So the end of one era, the start of a new era. T-Mobile customers paying taxes on their Magenta and Magenta Max lines, which are usually tax included, and some other news for you. Before we get into it, though, as always, Dennis, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. As many can tell, I'm back in my beautiful home. As you can see by the background, totally how it is. And it's great. I had a great trip with Stetson. For anybody that's checking on this episode and you're not already part of the Patreon, I recommend becoming part of it because there's a ton of extra content where me and Stetson, we're doing lots of fun things together from a network testing standpoint, home internet testing standpoint, and many other things. And also, of course, I got to actually test out C-Band before it went live in Vegas with Carlos.
I'm actually very excited to hear more about that in person. You messaged me a little bit beforehand, but I'm curious to hear what went down for that. But first, Dennis, we got some quick news here, and I think three topics we want to touch on. First, 3G is shutting down. You actually sent this one over. Do you want to give us an update on what the dealio is with 3G?
Yeah, so 3G is shutting down. February 22nd is going to be the last day for AT&T. July 1st is going to be the last day for T-Mobile. And then Verizon had pushed it back until December 31st. It is the bygones of a long-forgotten era of telecommunications, and we just want to bid it farewell.
Absolutely. Yeah, and my understanding is the carriers are doing this to free up spectrum for 5G. So they're going to repurpose this, add capacity, upgrade it to the new 5G system and network core, and hopefully provide people with a boost of speeds as opposed to the 3G devices that aren't really connected at all. So
yeah, I think AT&T and Verizon are going to specifically benefit more from this than T-Mobile does because they have ample spectrum. Although, honestly, I think its cost is the bigger reason for why they're removing this 3G equipment, because 3G costs significantly more to operate than more efficient technologies like LTE and 5G.
Yeah, that's probably good. And I actually had one spicy take. So this is from Joanna Stern from, who is she from? Let's see here. Wall Street Journal. And she tested out using an iPhone 3G on the current networks. I like the top comment basically said, you can use a newer phone. I would say like an iPhone, maybe the 11 had it, but there's a setting you can just go in and select 3G. So you don't need to go to the old phone to do it. But one thing I wanted to mention is people are still getting 3G-esque speeds in today's era, mostly because of some hotspot plans where the plans are actually capping hotspot speeds at quote-unquote 3G speeds or 600 kilobits per second, not actually using the 3G network, but just artificially capping the speed. So if you've wanted to try a 3G experience, just grab your T-Mobile Essentials plan, turn on the hotspot, and go to town.
I mean, we're still getting 2G speeds even with some of the hard throttles. And also, as I told you when I got back home in the Pittsburgh airport, I literally connected the Edge on T-Mobile.
Yeah. But either way, end of an era. We bid it farewell. And that brings us to our second bit of news. T-Mobile charging taxes and fees with their Magenta and Magenta Max plans. Dennis, these plans usually include all taxes and fees, $70 flat for Magenta, $85 flat for Magenta Max for a single line. What is going on here? Why are we suddenly seeing taxes and fees with these plans?
Yeah, so T-Mobile has decided to retroactively go back for all plans. This includes OnePlus plans as well, any that included tax and fees, and start charging taxes for the add-on items. So that would be things like Netflix, for example, if you decide to upgrade to the 4K streaming. That would be the international calling, the old school unlimited hotspot add-on. Anything that's basically an add-on is now going to be subject to taxes and fees, which, in all sincerity, I feel is pretty horrible.
Really?
Well, yeah, I mean, T-Mobile really made a name for themselves for solving customer pain points. One of those pain points was taxes and fees. They're kind of going back on that, especially since it's going to retroactively affect legacy customers who didn't sign up for that plan with that intent in mind. The whole point of OnePlus and Magenta Max, the reasons to upgrade from these older simple choice plans, one of the perks was taxes and fees being included.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it does sound like it is just the add-ons. So, I mean, taxes and fees on something that's like $15 is going to be like $1 extra a month or something like that.
It's not the amount; it's the principle.
I see. You're upset that the T-Mobile went from bundling it all in to suddenly adding it on.
I mean, I'll put it this way: Verizon, to this day, still has customers grandfathered on the old school, truly unlimited plan, right? Who they have not touched off. AT&T has people that are grandfathered on that plan. I'm not saying the cost hasn't gone up over time, but the plan remains the same, right?
Sure.
Tax and fees being included was a core principle tenet of the plan. If they I could understand if maybe if you add on something in the future, like a different add-on, then it's taxes. But to retroly go back and start charging tax on add-ons that were already on certain lines, to me feels kind of slimy.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I guess from my perspective, like T-Mobile is charging taxes and fees on everything. It's just that they're bundling it into the price of Magenta. Like the price you see is the price you pay because the tax and fees are accounted for. Like the actual cost is like, let's say $66.48, and then everything bundles it up and it comes out to 70 flat. And I guess like from my perspective, the add-ons seem a little bit more reasonable to me because like T-Mobile's paying for those, and I don't know, it's like an add-on service. Like the plan itself is the same. Like you're still getting Magenta Max for $85. You're still getting Magenta for $70. It's just if you want to take advantage of the Netflix add-on, like it's a couple bucks extra now. So I don't know. I feel like I'm less upset about it, but I definitely understand where you're coming from, where it's just kind of a slippery move.
Agree to disagree, I guess. I guess we'll have to find out in the comments who you agree with. Do you agree with me, Dennis, Team Dennis, that this is slimy?
Get some hashtags.
T-Mobile?
Yeah.
Or do you agree with hashtag Stetson that it's not that big a deal?
Curious to see how people respond. Third bit of news here. I actually stumbled across this. So, Dennis, you remember the auction? We were calling it the Andromeda auction. It was the Spectrum 3.45 to 3.55 gigahertz, kind of this nice mid-band 5G spectrum. We actually got the results of that. The auction ended, and do you have a guess? You probably looked, but do you have a guess who the big winner was here?
Yeah, I actually already knew because of people that I talked to, but AT&T was definitely the triumphant winner. They got 40 megahertz across the nation. Next best winner was Dish. Dish came out pretty strong in this. And honestly, even T-Mobile walked away with some little tidbits here and there.
I'm seeing 40.5%. So it was 100 megahertz of spectrum, or maybe it was 100. Yeah, it was 100 megahertz of spectrum. I'm seeing 40.5% of the bids went to AT&T, so that'd be about 40 megahertz. 32.7 went to Dish, so maybe about 30 megahertz. 12.9% went to T-Mobile, so maybe about 10 to 15 megahertz there. Probably 10, because I think that's how they're chunked off. But yeah, and I think, Dennis, we finally learned who the one person was who dropped out of the auction.
It was Verizon.
Yeah. My guess is it was Verizon. I think they assessed their spending. We're like, hey, we have enough with C-Band. We're good to go. And they dropped out.
I think that it was a foolish move, but we could talk about that more later in the show.
That sounds great. So that's what I got for news. Any other tidbits you want to sneak in here before we kind of dive into the main topic of today's show, which is C-Band?
The only little tidbit, and it'll be a nice transition, is that the carriers, in lieu of the launch of C-Band, have made additional concessions to the FAA. Do you want to talk about that real fast to the audience?
Yeah, what's going on there?
Well, I was hoping you would share that real quick.
Oh, sure. Well, basically what happened was FAA is putting up a rather large stink about 5G and delaying flights, canceling flights, causing problems. I feel like I want to stay a little bit neutral on this topic because I feel like I don't have all of the information I would like to have to make a definitive statement. What I will say is what I know, that there are countries around the world, over 40 countries, that are operating with C-band spectrum right now, and flights, the airlines are going fine. I do know that some of the configurations are different. For example, France, the towers are operating, I think, at like 50% power, and the antennas are deliberately angled down away from aircraft. And I also know that in the US, I think some of the altimeters haven't been updated or officially tested, and I think we're kind of waiting on that. But the big news is the FAA really wants to keep the flights going, which is totally understandable. And as a result, they have requested a buffer zone around airports. my current understanding is we have a 2-mile buffer zone around airports where C-band will be turned off and not turned on as of right now. And I think the carriers and the FAA are working to fix that and get everything turned on. But that's what I got. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, so the 2-mile thing was the additional concession. So even after everything, the carriers made an additional concession.
Yeah. So before they were like blanket, okay, good to go. And now it's like, all right, now there's a 2-mile radius around airports. And this is honestly like, it's, in my opinion, I hope, I guess, we can resolve this, because where are airports, Dennis? Typically in densely populated airport areas. You think of like the airport in New York City and
JFK. Mm-hmm.
JFK. Like, where are people around those airports? Where do you want C-band? Also, where all those people are. So,
ironically enough, as you know, I traveled a lot.
Yeah.
I actually spent time in JFK. It was the only airport where every single carrier did absolutely immaculate, and I didn't even have a want for 5G. Verizon's LTE performance was insane. I was getting
their LTE.
Dude, I was getting like over 200 megabits per second on the down, like 25 megabits per second on the up with great ping times. T-Mobile also had immaculate LTE performance. I wasn't actually getting UC inside the airport in all parts of JFK. A lot of it was LTE, but it was immaculate. I was getting like 250 down with like 10 up. And AT&T, I was getting like 350 down and like 35 up, bro. It was absolutely insane. That being said, though, JFK is an exception to this rule. Verizon needs C-band bad, because at every other airport that I was in, Verizon was the biggest loser at airports, period. Pittsburgh especially, I was getting like 0.87 megabits per second at times on Verizon. Down in the Denver airport, Verizon was also not performing too hot.
They're not great. I think they're either very congested or they just don't have cell sites at the airport.
But you know who the carrier should, for right now with how things are, the carrier you want if you're someone that's frequently airports, guess who it is?
Oh man, I mean, I'm gonna go your tried and true AT&T. This is the AT&T man himself.
It really is, though. Every single airport without fail, AT&T did great. I'm not saying they did great after the airport, because we already know we already know what happened in Denver.
Yeah.
But at the airports, AT&T has DAS systems and small cells in every airport I went to that I was never like knocking like 5 bars of service.
That's awesome. That's really, really awesome. Yeah, and I think AT&T, we've talked about it, they've done a great job with their LTE build out. They almost don't need 5G, and it's kind of funny considering.
Oh no, they still need C-band. I mean,
yeah.
No. Don't get it twisted. Like, when I said they did a great job, like, there was still airports where they were only getting like 50 meg. It's just that was exceptional when Verizon was only getting like 2 meg and T-Mobile was only getting like 3. So,
yeah, sweet. Well, I think we should kind of segue into C-band then. First, just a quick recap for the audience. What is C-band? C-band is going to be considered a mid-band 5G frequency. It's operating around the 4 gigahertz range, and that's going to be pretty good. It's a little bit higher frequency than band N41, which is what T-Mobile is using. And so far, it seems like it's going to be pretty good. So Verizon lit up their C-band network today, January 19th, 2022. The internet was abuzz with so much news. Dennis, I guess, what was your initial reaction with this from what you were seeing online? And actually, you got to test it. So maybe what was your reaction when you tested it yourself? And then how has that maybe changed once you've seen it go live today officially?
So when I tested it myself out in Vegas, my reaction was, meh, this is like N41. Now, granted, it was in low power mode, and it was very finicky, but it reminded me of T-Mobile's N41 performance in Pittsburgh, not Colorado.
Okay.
So I was like,
what is that performance? It was like not super reliable, it sounds like, maybe connecting, disconnecting, and not super fast. Like, what kind of pings and stuff were you seeing?
It was super finicky. Pings could be low as like 14 milliseconds, but a lot of times there'd be like 100 milliseconds of jitter or something stupid. And then like as far as speeds goes, like if you hit it at just the right spot, it might be like 400 meg, but like a lot of times it was dropping down to like 150, 200. It was kind of like meh, you know? And like you said,
Yeah.
it definitely disconnected. Like literally just a car window might disconnect it type of deal. Now, that being said, I am cognizant of the fact that it was in low power mode and this was before the live, right?
Yeah.
Now that it's actually live and it's been powered up, and I got to watch Carlos's stream of it actually working in its full glory, I'm very impressed by what Verizon's been able to do, at least in the Vegas market, specifically, because Carlos was able to get over 800 meg on some of his tests.
Dang. Wow. It
which-
sounds like it over doubled. It sounded like you were getting maybe 400 before, and now it's pumping out 800 megabits per second on the same
I think
site.
the best I saw in low power mode was like 500, roughly. But I was very impressed, especially with the fact that the amount of spectrum that Verizon is using is significantly less than what T-Mobile has deployed.
So I think Verizon deployed 40 megahertz. They bought
60.
No. They deployed 60 megahertz about nationwide. The official stats I've seen is that they are now covering 90 million people, and they're hoping to cover 100 million people by the end of January. A big reason for that difference is actually, Dennis, as we talked about earlier, the 2-mile radius around airports. It looks like potentially cut off deployment for around 10 million customers, or caused a delay in some markets that impacted that. They are now in 1,700 cities with C-band, which is awesome. And they are using band N77. So if you want to connect to C-band and test out these fast speeds, your phone needs to have band N77. And that's going to include the iPhone 12 and newer, the Galaxy S21 and newer, and Pixel 6. Dennis, we already did a podcast on this, but it's going to need a software update.
Yeah, I was going to say we need to add a certain caveat here. Right now, the only phone that was able to connect reliably to C-band was the iPhones.
Wow.
The Samsung phone was very finicky, and the Pixel just straight up doesn't want to connect at all.
Yeah, it needs an update. Like, it's not going to connect.
No, I mean, like I'm talking about just the 5G in general, like the Pixel 6 didn't.
Oh, yeah, I think they're actually having problems. I was seeing someone else on Twitter saying they were having 5G connectivity issues on Pixel.
Yeah, so Pixel not the move right now. Honestly, it pains my soul because I love Android, but honestly, if you want the best networking experience right now on 5G, and I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth, you should really have an iPhone.
Well, Apple did release the iPhone much later in the year than Samsung, and the S22 is right around the corner, Dennis. So maybe we can return the crown to our usual Samsung Android champ pretty soon here. But yeah, it sounds like iPhone is the phone to have. And do you actually want to do something pretty fun and look at some of the Verizon C-band test results?
Absolutely.
So I was on Reddit. The Verizon subreddit is a buzz right now.
Oh, holy crap. One of these is actually in PA, like a place that I know.
Yeah. I added it. I was like, Dennis is going to like this. So let's just go through a couple of these here. This is going to be, we've got Matthews. So add to stream. Looks like, dang. All right, this is Matthews, North Carolina. This is on Visible. I'm just seeing this now. So obviously, someone said Visible wasn't getting C-band on day one. It looks like that might have been mistaken because this person at 500. It also looks like they need to redo the 200 megabit per second speed cap. But great download, 516 down, 42.99 up. Horrible ping, which is a little bit more common than we'd like on Visible. Decent jitter, but no packet loss. So there you go.
Oh, Stetson, real quick. Sorry to slow your roll, but you just reminded me of something real quick. One major important change that happened between before live and now live is that Verizon was actually throttling video on C-band UW.
That's interesting.
Live. But now that it's live, it doesn't seem to be throttling it anymore. It seems to be getting the full speed.
That's nice. This is from a user on the Z Flip 3, 60 megahertz of N77. So exactly as you said, Dennis. And it was carrier aggregating, it looks like, with 10 megahertz of band 13, 15 megahertz of band 66, 10 megahertz of band 2. And this user got over 1,000 megabits per second.
That's not just any user. Do you not recognize who that is? That's EM Tech. He's one of our Patreon members.
EM Tech. Oh my God. Well, you made a guest appearance in the podcast, my friend, and we really appreciate you sharing these results. Didn't see this in the speed test channel on Discord, just throwing it out there. But dang, over 1,000 megabits per second down, way better ping, way better jitter, 63.86 megabits per second up. Here are the final results. That's
Look
outstanding.
at the ping. Look at the ping, though.
Yeah.
That is that is like, honestly, that is cable level performance, bro. That is really good ping times.
Yeah, and with the jitter, like, as you mentioned, that's cable level performance. That's outstanding. All right, Dennis, what else we got? Oakland, California. We'll do a couple more, and then maybe I'll do the Pittsburgh one as well. 245 down, upload was tough here, and the ping and jitter were a little bit higher as well.
But it was only 1 bar.
1 bar, yeah.
That's why I was saying, like, that was a good like, only 1 bar in that performance. That's really good.
I'm just imagining this on T-Mobile ultra capacity, and it would not be holding up.
No, it would be like 5 meg.
Yeah.
Okay, let's skip the Cranberry.
Cranberry Township. So I saw this. It's like, I'm pretty sure Dennis knows where this is. Cranberry Township, Pennsylvania.
Where that is. That's where all the restaurants are.
586 down, 57.83 up. Pretty good ping at 26 milliseconds. Are we seeing any jitter? No jitter in this screenshot, but there you go, Dennis.
It looks like they ran it on a desktop.
Yeah, you're kind of right, actually. Or they like screenshotted a desktop. I wonder if it was a tablet and they were running it on the...
Or, you know what? Maybe that's so weird. That actually is a little concern. There's 3 parts that make that concerning. One, I know they didn't use the speed test app. And you want to know why, Stetson? Because look at the server that was tested. When you use the web browser, you can't get the Verizon server through the browser for whatever reason here in Pittsburgh.
Okay, so they must have been on an app. Is that...
No, they were on a web browser, like the desktop version of the browser.
Oh, because the app doesn't go to Verizon.
No, the app goes to Verizon. The app, you have to have the app to actually test the Verizon server.
Okay. Oh, but this is, I see that I was looking at Verizon, but it was Magna 5.
Yeah, so that's 1. 2, if you look at how this is laid out, this is the desktop version of the site.
Yeah, it says Apps, Insights, Networks.
And I wonder, you know what I bet you they probably did? They
Hotspot?
probably ran the test on their phone and were signed in with their email, opened it up on the web browser on the desktop, and then screenshot that to post it. I bet you that's what they did.
That might have been it. But yeah, honestly, it looks really good. And it sounds like this is in an area with a lot of restaurants. So, like, huge lift in performance in that area, which would probably be more likely to be congested.
You know, in that area, that is the area where T-Mobile only has, like, 1 cell site covering the whole area.
They just got smoked.
They have, but it's N41. Like, it's a good site. But I think Verizon has, like, 5 cell sites covering that area.
Oh, man. How far away is this from you? Like...
if I hop on 376, it would probably take me about maybe 40 minutes to get there, maybe 30 if I'm really with a lead foot.
Yeah, wow. Well, Dennis, you are so close to tasting C-Band, my friend. I am so jealous. So cool. Let's do maybe one more. Maybe Washington?
Sure.
Just, it's all over the country. Like, I honestly am so impressed. This one, great speeds. And honestly, the ping is really good here, too. 339 megabits per second down, 12.8 up. Great ping, great jitter. I'm impressed, Dennis. What have been your reaction seeing these results and other users posting theirs just in today in general?
I am very, very proud of Verizon and all the excellent engineers for what they are doing. I just want to say to any Verizon engineers that are watching, though, you still have a lot of work to do. Especially in Pittsburgh, you have a lot of sites that are band 66, band 13 only, that need to be upgraded. I don't even necessarily think they have to have C-band right away, but it'd be great if you could just, upgrade those and add some capacity, because even though you're doing that right now with C-band in a lot of the major areas, you have a lot of places that have also been somewhat forgotten when it comes to a capacity layer standpoint. So lots to do, especially if you want to remain being the quote-unquote network king, as many people have deemed you to be. But this is a good first step towards that, and I'm keeping the same energy that I gave to T-Mobile when they were rolling out ultra capacity. So
I love it, Dennis. All right, I think there are 2 elephants in the room right now. Elephant numero uno, Dennis, is your network. the hashtag Team Blue, AT&T. What is up with them? What did they do for C-band? Did they do anything today?
I don't know. Did they?
You don't know. Yeah, okay, they did do something. So that's good news. But there's a little bit of a difference, shall we say, between what Verizon did and what AT&T did. Verizon covers 1,700 cities with C-band now. AT&T, Dennis, you have a guess? You're probably looking at it on the dock right now, but
yeah,
how many cities?
8 cities.
8. Oof, what has AT&T been doing? My goodness. And you can tell, like, this is why AT&T was not upset with any delays or pushbacks at all. Like, they just haven't done anything. All right, what are the 8 cities? I'll list them out quickly for our audience. You got Austin, Texas, Chicago, Illinois, Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, Detroit, Michigan, Houston, Texas, Jacksonville, Mississippi, Orlando, Florida, and South Florida. Or it might be Jacksonville, Missouri. No, it's Mississippi. Anyway, South Florida. Those are the 8 cities. That's it. That's everything. That's the whole deal right there.
So there's 2 things I want to say that I'll be curious about. One is I'll be curious to know why it's only 8 cities. Was it maybe a procurement issue when it comes to equipment? And then 2, what I'm going to be more curious about is when the coverage maps get updated for respectively Verizon and AT&T, I'd be interested to see if maybe the reason why AT&T only did 8 cities is because they were actually upgrading every single cell cluster in the city versus taking more like of a T-Mobile approach where they were like, yeah, we upgraded 2 sites here. That guy's ultra capacity.
Yeah.
And to that same vein, I feel like Verizon, because again, I want to keep the same energy. Verizon, I feel like, is sort of doing that same thing. Now, granted, in Vegas, I literally saw Verizon do upgrades at like the Caesar Hotel, for example, where it went from LT to being a NSA 5G site. But I don't know if necessarily Verizon is going to have that same level of, having band 66, for example, in every single LTE site that we're used to with C-band. And I'd be curious to see if that's what's kind of happening right now, where Verizon took this, like, let's get it in a bunch of markets on wherever we can get it quickly. And if AT&T took a more focused approach, where like, let's have like 8 markets where it's like exceptional.
100%. Yeah, it sounds like Verizon is doing like as much as possible, 50% of the way there. AT&T just focusing in and doing like 100%.
I'm not saying that's the case. We don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna wait. We don't know.
I'm just saying I'm curious to see if maybe that's what's happening. Like, that's like a little prediction of mine.
My guess, I don't know too much about this, but I think my guess right now is AT&T didn't feel a whole lot of pressure to do anything. And so maybe they're just focusing on markets where it's easier, maybe where they want to eventually offer a fixed wireless home internet product. I think their LTE network is honestly so robust because they did do such a good job building that out that they're probably okay.
What they might be doing too? Knowing how AT&T likes to do things, they're probably waiting for the 3G shutdown, and then when they're going to those sites to do the shutdown is when they're going to do the upgrades on those sites, because you know how AT&T has the one-touch
efficiency.
policy.
Yeah.
That's probably what's happening. It's probably a mixture of like permitting, waiting for the shutdown, and doing the one-touch policy that they did. And also, to your point again, AT&T really doesn't have anything to worry about. I mean, in Pittsburgh specifically, I'm guaranteeing that Pittsburgh will probably be like one of the last markets that AT&T gives actual 5G to, just because we have so much capacity in spades that like there's truly no rush. I mean, I'm at non-peak hours, I'm literally able to see 400 megabits per second over LTE. I guarantee AT&T is not going to be in any hurry to give me C-band, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's they did such a great job. And I think a couple of other points I wanted to make. 5G hotspot devices, like a lot of the carriers are starting to promote their fixed wireless options. And Dennis, we actually did a great episode just talking about the best fixed wireless options right now. And I think honestly, after that episode, Verizon's fixed wireless offering looks way more compelling, especially their 5G one, especially with their new C-band. But notably, hotspot devices. Verizon's $400 Inseego MiFi M2100 does not support C-band. This is the newest hotspot device from Verizon, doesn't support C-band. AT&T, they have the Netgear Nighthawk M5. From what I could tell, the AT&T version doesn't even have band N77. The unlocked one does have N77, but is not supporting it just yet, and it might need a firmware update. So definitely not the time for 5G hotspot devices just yet. But I think hopefully we can get some of those on the market, and those will be great options for RVers and frequent travelers. And the final thing, T-Mobile, they didn't want to lose out on the news here, but they have already a pretty robust 5G network, and they're starting to turn on 5G carrier aggregation, which they say can improve speeds by 20%. But that's only going to be on iPhone 13, Galaxy S21, and newer devices.
Yeah, I mean, TLDR of this whole escapade here, T-Mobile is in a pretty good position right now.
Yeah, how would you rank the 5G build-outs right now? I know we like to kind of revisit the ranking system every once in a while. What are your thoughts? Let's do just looking at 5G, and then we can go from there. But just looking at 5G, how do you rank the build-outs?
That's really a tough question, Stetson. Because the problem is it's really, really city dependent.
Yeah.
It's very
more so than anything else. Like more than LTE was. It's just like
yeah. I'm gonna give you a perfect example, okay? Denver, right? When we went down to go test Verizon millimeter wave. If that was the only experience I had with millimeter wave, I would have left thinking millimeter wave sucked. Because honestly, whatever's happening in Denver right now is not great.
It's not great. I was like, millimeter is cool, and then I tried it out, and it's like, I'm not really connecting to this. Did some thinking. Maybe this isn't the move.
That being said, Stetson, in Vegas and in Pittsburgh, millimeter wave from Verizon is exceptional to the point where, here's another thing, millimeter wave almost had the same type of reach as powered down C-band before it went live type of amazingness.
Wow.
Like,
yeah.
It is absolutely insane. And I even told you, bro, I saw peaks of 4.8 gigabits per second in the Vegas airport on millimeter wave. And Verizon just has that level of density in Vegas where they're able to put millimeter wave in so many places that you're pretty much never not connecting to it, especially when you're on the main strip. So it very much depends. But TLDR, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here. TLDR, I think as it stands at this moment, T-Mobile is in a more functionally usable stance of 5G just simply because mid-band for the needs of today is filling those needs just fine. And they have lots more of the access to it. It's not necessarily the most reliable. We clearly saw the problems with the buffer bloat and the QCI problems and everything else. But the signal's being broadcasted more. I would follow that up by Verizon, and those two can trade off either way depending if you're in a millimeter wave city, but I would follow it up by Verizon being in second at the moment just because they just now got C-band live and they got a lot of upgrades to do to just make it so that's usable by more people. And then last, and this is the very far last behind, is AT&T because honestly their NSA 5G is pretty useless. I mean, you get a small uptick in upload and at best case roughly the same download speeds, worst case worse download speeds. Their millimeter wave has not been, first off, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, it's probably in those same 8 cities, if that.
No.
It's like they're stadiums, right?
No. It's in airports. It's in airports, but it's not performing like Verizon's millimeter wave. That's for darn sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, AT&T very far behind in the 5G race. It's definitely between Verizon and T-Mobile. And in some markets, Verizon, hands down, is going to be the better pick, especially now with C-band being live.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm most curious about myself is we still don't have the updated coverage map, and we haven't really seen the before and after. So I'm just really curious to see how Verizon's coverage map evolves with deployment of C-band, if they differentiate it on the coverage map, if it just gets bundled into ultra-wideband. And I think, how it compares to T-Mobile. But I think I agree with you, Dennis. I think T-Mobile, from a user perspective, it's functionally there. Like, you're getting speeds. It's broadcasting. I think their low-band 5G at 600 megahertz is been helping a lot with T-Mobile coverage.
No.
You don't think so?
Oh, are you just talking about having bars on phone?
Yeah, just coverage.
Oh, bars on phone,
Like,
yes.
this is what I'm saying. The T-Mobile overall has the biggest 5G footprint right now, and I think from a broad standpoint would provide better speeds than the other 5G networks in more places. Just because it is in more places.
Not if it's the standalone 600, man. 600 is really
Yeah, that's garbage. But I think then I would do Verizon, and I'm so curious to see, like, they're neck and neck right now in my mind. And I think as Verizon is able to deploy more, they'll potentially take the lead. And I'm just so curious to see how that pans out. AT&T, unfortunately, in last with 5G, but as we mentioned, their LTE is so strong that if we look at the networks as a whole,
yeah. But we have to keep the same energy. Honestly, if AT&T doesn't step it up by the end of this year, they're not going to be a competitor in this next generation of technology. We actually got to call for what it is. Like AT&T, if you're listening, you got to get some like actual work done, because it's basically AT&T is going to repeat the mistake that T-Mobile made in the LTE era, where they're so far behind there is no catching up.
Yeah,
it's
and
true.
that's why T-Mobile was so like pedal to the metal with 5G, and then Verizon just like they spent a bunch of money and they're still spending a bunch of money, and their network is going from 0 to 60 real fast.
I mean,
real fast.
money tends to fix a lot of the problems that exist out there, and Verizon's clearly demonstrating that. I honestly think that T-Mobile at this point, honestly, do you want to know what I would love to see, Stetson?
What would you love to see, Dennis?
I would be happy if at this point, instead of T-Mobile just focusing on expanding any more ultra capacity, they would just go actually focus on the markets where their ultra capacity isn't working well. Because this is not meant to be funny. This is actually like kind of sad. You know how my experience is in Pittsburgh. In fact, I told you when I came home, I'm actually reliably connecting to N41 now at my house. But the performance is 50 to 100 megabits per second. And that's with them expanding it now from 60 to 100 megahertz of N41. Whereas in your market, I don't think I ever saw less than 300 on N41. Ever.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. It continues to be amazing here.
Yeah.
They need to go to Pittsburgh.
But this disparity in performance is so night and day different. Like Verizon, okay? Verizon is... I'm going to use this word, and I can't believe, and I know a lot of people are going to get mad when I say this, but Verizon's pretty mediocre at best for most of their network, in my opinion. Like, you're getting usable speeds, you're getting usable coverage, but it's nothing that's like eye-popping. It's like 50 meg. I would say that's like Verizon's MO for like average speeds for the most part. Do you agree or disagree with that sentiment?
I think this could have been perceived before their C-band spectrum went live, and I think that is likely going to change in these next few weeks.
It'll probably change, but that's been their MO, right?
Yeah, it was basically you had bars, and the speeds could be pretty fast, but often were just usable, which was just fine, but nothing like eye-popping, nothing jaw-dropping.
But
until you got millimeter wave in like that one street corner somewhere.
But the important part was it was a consistent mediocre. It was consistent, and if you did come across a place like Vegas where they had insane density, where it was just eye-popping 300 megs over NSA type of speed performance and CBRS everywhere, then it was a pleasurable thing. Whereas with T-Mobile, it is literally like very usable or not usable at all. There is
they're black
no
and
in
white.
between.
Yeah, there's no gradient. All or nothing on T-Mobile,
and that is a really big problem. In all sincerity, like. That's an actual big problem.
Yeah.
But we're getting long into this. Did you want to touch on any last final thoughts?
Final thoughts here. The MVNOs that have C-band, US Mobile officially has C-band, so you can get the exact same speeds and performance on US Mobile as you can Verizon postpaid right now. I was going to say Visible was going to have a delay getting C-band, but we literally pulled up that screenshot where someone was using Visible and connected to C-band. So I'm not 100% sure where to stand on that right now. Xfinity Mobile should also be getting it because they have access to ultra wideband. And I think like the main takeaway I want you to have for the audience is C-band spectrum is part of the mid-band 5G network that Verizon is using, and they are bundling it into what they're calling ultra wideband 5G. So if you see a little U and a little W in the top status bar of your phone, then you're connected to ultra wideband, and that could be C-band or millimeter wave. Bottom line, you're probably getting some pretty fast speeds. And I think that's what I wanted to touch on. Dennis, I also mentioned we are introducing a new segment where users can actually call in to the podcast to ask a question. And I know, shocked reaction, but we have something here. Let me add it to the stream so we can get it going. But
you did not tell me about. I mean, I know we talked about this in private, but I didn't realize we were going forward.
We're doing 110%. We're doing pedal to the metal here. It is, you can call 720. I'm typing it out right now. Forgive me. 461 4946 to have your question answered on the podcast. Okay? Boom. And we actually have our first question here. I'm just going to switch headphones so I can hear this myself. But
is it going to play through? Is it going to play through the?
We should hear it.
Hey, this is Stetson calling from Longmont, Colorado. Just had a quick question for you guys. Have you told everyone about the new phone number that they can call to get their questions answered on the podcast? Something I just learned about, thought it was pretty cool, and was curious if you'd shared it yet. Also, love what you guys are doing, by the way. Keep up the great work. All right, take care. Bye.
There you go.
That's awesome. I wish you would have told me this when I was still there so we could have recorded something together.
Yeah, it just happened literally today, Dennis. But to answer my question to myself, yes, we set it up. But I think this is a really cool opportunity. So, audience, you can literally call me and Dennis, call us at that phone number, leave us a message, and we'll answer it on the next show. But I think
if you call it, is there a jingle that plays?
It's me. I just made a answering voicemail and we got it set up. But that's it. We'll get some.
Yeah. And you got the soundboard. That's awesome.
Yeah, we made some upgrades today, Dennis, behind the scenes. But I think that's it for our CBand special. That's what you need to know. Make sure you like this video, share it with one friend, and get subscribed so you don't miss out on the latest news in telecom, what's happening, network speed testing, all the goodness. And subscribe to the Patreon to get extra perks and behind the scenes. I'm Stetson.
And I'm Dennis.
And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you guys so much.
Peace.
Peace.